So if this is your first time here, welcome to Not Exclusive. So I'm just gonna give a quick background of what we're doing. So basically, I created Not Exclusive to be a community space where people can come and share experiences and get access to information. It's basically a space where we can, I would say end gatekeeping and just digitalize access to information. So every month I do some of these sessions where I get experts from my network and we tackle important issues in the community or career-wise. So thank you all for joining us for this AI session. We have a good panel here for you and we have a good discussion. So I'm very excited. So I'm just going to give a quick background. I'm not going to make it a lecture, just real quick. And then we can dive deep into it, obviously. So what is artificial intelligence? And the panelists probably have more experience on this than I do. But easily, artificial intelligence is just training computer systems to have human cognitive functions, to be able to reason like human beings, to kind of be able to perform tasks we do, be able to understand language the same way we do, to be able to understand problem solving, creativity, and inference. So that is the idea behind artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence might seem like a cool thing now, like maybe like a fad, but it's actually been a long time coming. I think the first concept, I think I forgot who named artificial intelligence, but the term artificial intelligence was coined in 1956. And the popular Turing test that tests if a computer qualifies as a machine learning was in 1951. So it's been a lot of progress before, kind of ChatGPT, which we're kind of more familiar with. There's been a lot of progress at the way. We kind of have Omi here, who kind of worked in Google DeepMind, who are kind of pioneers in artificial intelligence, like AlphaFolding. And we have Tesla, some of integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into cars we already see. So these are concepts that have already been in the world we live in. I think a big part of artificial intelligence was also Deep Blue when IBM created a chess that defeated the world champion in 1997. I think that was the inference point where we say, oh, wow, we've gotten to a point where artificial intelligence is potentially, can be better than a human being. So 2023, the game changed because these models were no longer have to be run on big computers. These are now models we have on our phone. Can run ChatGPT on our phones. We can run Gemini on our phone. And it changed the game. And there was a lot of demand for it. And OpenAI became the highest growing consumer product of all time, reaching 100 million users in 2 months. So we see that the impact of AI, while it has been long in this short span, has been huge. And, one thing I always say is this is the worst the technology would be. But it's very interesting what that means to us. A lot of people say, what does AI mean? What does that mean for me? Would that replace me? Would that help me? How should I be using AI? How should I be thinking about AI? And that's what we are here to answer today. So I hope, we have a quick QA set up so you can ask your questions. We're going to dive into the question with the panelists. And I want this to be a discussion. So first we'll go into discussion with the panelists. And then I have Keaton on here as well to kind of show a practical example of how we're using ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT prompt to kind of help with the group, which is kind of a community business Peter and I also have on the side. So let's dive deep into it. I don't think Olu is on right now, but we can start with Omi and Izundu. So, Omi, I'll start with you. Do you mind doing a quick introduction of yourself, your background, and your introduction with AI and your work with AI?
Sure. Firstly, thanks for setting this up. It's always great to chat with folks who are, diving headfirst into the AI world. About myself, I started my journey in AI a while ago, back in grad school. Where I started, where I decided to make that my research focus. This was at an unpopular time. There weren't any real AI programs except I think at MIT and Stanford, but most of our colleges didn't really have one. Um, I started my journey there, then left that, um, left my PhD without completing it because I got a great offer. I was scooped up by Microsoft. Worked at Microsoft for a little bit, then decided to leave and start a computer vision company with some of my friends. This was around the time of like drones, the drone like boom. It did well until all the regulations started getting passed and sort of killed 99% of drone companies. Um, then I was joined. Then that happened, and I joined Google's security org to start their or to form their ML privacy organization, security and privacy organization. So went there. I spent quite a number of years doing that. Figured out like sort of like how a large corporation like Google, who has a lot of focus in the AI space, should actually think about privacy and security when it comes to training and deploying different models and stuff. So was privileged to sort of work on a number of things. So I had like a wide range in scope, from launching the first assistant to stuff that's in Waymo, self-driving tech, to stuff in maps and photos and search and a whole host of things. Then I left the research org to join the brain team, the now the Google DeepMind team, to which is a research org, right? So my core um, like task there was trying to commercialize or look for commercial viability for some of the mature research that was being done there. Did that for a little bit, then decided that I had at this time I'd been in the AI space for over a decade, so I decided that this was what 2021 when NFTs and crypto was booming. So I got lured away by the allure of the blockchain. So I left that to join some other of my friends to start a crypto company, which did really well, and had an exit from that. And then the good thing is that as of last year, crypto really, sorry, not crypto, as of end of 2022 and beginning of last year, AI started booming again. And then I decided to just do some investing and help do some strategic work with different startups and companies on how they should implement AI for whatever thing that they're doing. And yeah, and so that's sort of like where I'm at right now and what I've been spending the last better part of the year doing. So that's my history in the AI space.
Thank you so much, Omi. That was very good. I appreciate it. All right,
Mhm.
Zoom, do you want to go and you want to talk about like, your experience as well and, experience with AI and maybe like your podcast?
Yeah, Sami Zindu. Hi guys. Good afternoon. Um, I study computer engineering and math, so I've not done a lot as much work as Omi in AI. Um, I work as a solutions engineer. I help people make business decisions around tech and pick or implement technology to solve business problems. And sometimes, and as recently, it's obviously AI has blown up. And so I've gained a lot of interest in like trying to see how I can add AI and ML machine learning into my arsenal of tools like that I use to help these businesses. So that's really where my interest sparked. I remember someone showed me um 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, someone had showed me this software that you just gave it a prompt and it will develop a story for you. And so for someone that I kind of hate writing, I mean, I do it, but it's really tasking to write and write beautiful work. And so I just seen that and I was blown away. Like a single prompt, and it was pretty accurate. The story made sense. It was a like a basic story generation, and I played with it a little bit more. And this was before even GPT-3, I think, or at least public release. And so I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never seen anything that you just gave it a prompt and it gave you like, and so it started to like that's when I started like, wow, okay, like some people are doing some real shit in this space. So um I decided, and then off of that, nothing really happens. I don't really see anything again that blows me or wows me. But then if you're doing investing, you've heard about Kathy Wood and some other people that really talk, and then obviously Tesla with their car and like full self-driving and them ranking up in that capability. So I start seeing other like places where people are using artificial intelligence. Obviously Siri, like those are more basic stuff, but like seeing not basic, but like earlier and like kind of almost so not traditional, almost so everyday that people don't even consider that AI anymore. And so you see Tesla doing their own thing and like driving around, people going miles and miles and miles without, touching the wheel. And like you're just seeing all the different ways it could be applied. And again, back to Kathy Wood. And then I listened to her talk about applying this technology and this intelligence to other spaces like biotech and material science and thinking of the advantages that we can gain by advancing the work there. And to me, it just seemed like a no-brainer as like a space where there was just a lot of potential. And so I felt like I had to be in that space. I felt like I had to like develop, like learn about it, get into it, practice it. So I played a lot with Python and PyTorch and some other like libraries. Um, and then that it's there's not a clear relationship between that like and my podcast, but I guess except me and that interest in technology in general. So the podcast is a news commentary podcast. I try to talk about tech and business primarily and delve into like the biggest stories in like the last 3 to 6 weeks and share about it. And so I think that's how me and Samuel connected over this Zoom call, and like I think I talked about generative AI as one of the biggest stories of last year in the second episode. And so yeah, like since then I follow like there's so much news, there's so much money at stake. There's a lot of talent in the space, like Omi and a lot of the like fantastic people, fantastic brain power. Just there's just so much in this space that and then you see the effects that it has on business, you see the effects that it has on health, you see the effects that it has on, progress in general in technology. And so it's hard to not be inspired slash excited slash maybe a little terrified. I don't know.
No, sounds good. Thanks for that. And that kind of leads us to the next segue of question I have for Omi. From your years of experience, and I want you to be honest here, this is like a small group. Do you think AI will make our lives better or it would replace us? Like, or should we be worried? Is this like doom or gloom?
It's going to be a little bit of both, honestly, because with every advanced tech that our civilization has adopted, it's fared very it's fared poorly for some, but it's ultimately been great for the vast majority of folks. I don't think, and I think that AI is going to be the same, and is the same. We've already seen effects of this, like, you know, as you said, like AI is not today. It's just, you know, it's been around for a very long time. It's been adopted for a very, 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 very long time. So it's going to be a bit of both. I think that there are certain jobs. I mean, the question that everyone asks is that, is my job safe? And, you know, there are certain jobs that are just obviously just not safe. You know, like content writers, it's not safe. You know, like stuff like that. You know, but there are other jobs that are safe. I also strongly believe that, like, it's not that it's not that most jobs are going to be taken over by AI. What's going to happen is that most people who don't use AI are going to be taken over by people who do use AI. You know, so it's so I would urge everyone to sort of pick up and learn, like, how they can leverage different tools and models to make their work better. And if they can do that, then they're gonna be on top, because that's what, like, their businesses are gonna be looking for anyway. So it's gonna be both, to, you know, yeah.
Well, sounds good for sure. No, thanks for that. So Izundu, you know, like as somebody relatively new, like into the AI world, and you know, you have a lot of experience doing research for your podcast, and you know, just like your day-to-day activities, how would you say is a way for people to get into the world of AI, to dive deep into the world of AI? How should people start?
I mean, obviously, it's easier to be a user than a developer. So I would say start using and easy tools to pick up that are free. Gemini, ChatGPT 3.5. You know, throw in a prompt there, play with it. I can't think of any other. Yeah, those are like the easiest ones to come by. Play with any image generator you can find. I think that's the first way. Just use it and see its power and see what you can do with it. And maybe at the end of this call, I might share like a prompt engineering worksheet. So, you know, you figure out how to generate better prompts and get better responses from the AI. Because, you know, yes, he understands human language, but there's certain ways that I think you optimize, like you know, to set up a good response, like you know.
Mhm.
And so I think, yeah, I think that's the first thing. And then if you want to get into like, you know, building AI or how you add it into your life, I would say figure out where you want to use it for first. So whether do you want to be like on the training side? Do you want to be on the do you want to be on the like DevOps side, and like do you want to build AI in the cloud? Are you more of a UI person, UX? Like there are different places you can like attach yourself. Do you want to use it for your business? Do you want to be able to talk about AI? You know, be able to, you know, teach people like that's all the way into school. So I think there are different ways you can look at it, and I'm not even exhausted in. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of companies now that are even hiring AI trainers and AI like people that like kind of like analyze predictions. So yeah, the different places you can get into, and it really just stems from like your core interests. Like that's what I do. You know, do things from like where I feel the most passion and go into it from there.
No, sounds good. And yeah, people are already asking for the prompt sheets. And yeah, definitely, I think after the panel, probably can see that. And, you know, Keaton also can show some, you know, active ways to use ChatGPT for sure. And then let's see. You know, I want to ask some questions. We have like 2 or 3 more questions, then we'll open it up to Q&A because I know some questions are already coming in. All right, let me see which one again is fun. Yeah. Let me see. I I guess, Omi, what's your wow moment? Like you've seen a lot of like AI progress, right? If you were to define one wow moment in your career where like AI, capacity truly surprised you, where like, okay, this is not a game anymore. Like this is something we should take serious. Like, this is for real. Like, what was that moment?
Man, there've been a few. It's not just one. There've been a few. I want to I want to tell you about three of them, if you don't mind, because I can't pick between the three. One of them was I think the first one was actually seeing the how people seeing the advancements um, of capabilities from using GPUs as opposed to CPUs to train models. Um, this might go over the head of some folks, but like a lot of deep neural net training to simplify it requires a lot of parallel computations being done at the same time, right? And the more of those that can be done at the exact same time, the faster the training is going to go, and the better the output model is going to be. It just so turned out that like GPUs are good at doing very simple tasks in parallel because they're trying to figure out which part of the screen should change, right? Um, when I think it was in Stanford that they figured out like, okay, you know what, you can actually use this to train super like simple neural nets. I'm like, sure. But then when I actually saw the effect of that, I'm like, oh my God, like how on earth are you able to fit this large like model, train this large like model without running out of memory? And it was because they were using GPUs. That was the first wow one. The second wow one was when I don't know if you guys have heard. I mean, now it's not like state of the art, but almost I want to say almost 10 years ago now. Um, I first heard like AI generated voice. Um, Google launched like the voice that can answer phone calls for you or make like certain phone calls for you, and it sounds like a human, like a human being. My goodness, was I wowed by that! And this was 10 years ago. So imagine like 10 years ago, like it's like no, I was like, wait, what? You're telling me that this? How? How on earth did you guys train this? Like this is insane. Like how you guys did this. So that was a second wow, like big, like wow, like this is and the last one which was I guess a lot more recent is how certain language models are trained with and are able to sort of to generate very contextual like outputs from very like limited data. Now that like usually like there are certain things that you would expect, like, okay, if this wasn't part of the training set, then the model shouldn't be able to even know, not that it shouldn't know this, but like it shouldn't, like it doesn't make sense for it to be able to give you something that makes sense. And then seeing that happen, and you're like, oh my goodness, where's it getting this from? I'm like, how is this even possible? That was the more recent wow. But yeah, anyway.
No, that's very interesting for sure. Especially the GPU versus CPU part is definitely very interesting. And we've seen that like in NVIDIA stock, because like from my investment background, it's just it's crazy for me because coming from an engineering background as well to just see how that grow because it's like Moore's law on a different level, right? It's just how you can arrange things and it's very interesting and yeah, hopefully it leads to the progress. And a big part of that sticks with me is someone just told me like this is the worst the technology can be. A lot of people when you know some of those videos come out like, oh, it's not so smart, oh, the videos have some lag, or it's not the best. But someone always says this is the worst this technology can be, and that always sticks with me more than it is. Yeah, like this is the worst it's ever gonna be. So that's very interesting for sure. All right, Izundu, we're gonna wrap up in like two more questions because I want this to be open forum and then show some other things. But Izundu, a lot of people are interested in AI because they want to break into tech, right? They want to break into the world of tech. The world of tech sounds exciting. As someone that's like broken into tech, you kind of have a background in that, and I know you have a lot of people in that community. What advice would you give for people that are trying to break into tech, you know, instead of their careers who are broken into tech, and what is it like, you know, what is good about it, maybe what's not as good that people don't tell you about that life?
That's a deep question. Like, how do you start a career in tech? Um, um, Again, I think like this is me, and this is how I like to reason. You have to come at it from what are your core strengths. You don't want to come into something and be like, oh, you know, if you come into it just like because you see the rush, you see everybody going into it, then it's not gonna work out. I mean, okay, I don't want to say that. I don't know if it's gonna work out for you, and I'm not gonna suggest that you do that. I think you should come at it. What are your core strengths? What are your passions? And so, if you like writing, if you like writing, you like talking to people, you you know, at the end of the day, AI has to be trained on data. We might even get to that in the question in the comments, but AI has to be trained on data. And so if you generate good data, AI will be trained on your data and you get compensated for that because that provides value. So you like to write, you like to create stuff. Still a space for you in that sense. Um, if you're if you don't really have if you don't really have a lot of what would I say you're not interested in the whole communication, talking to people part. You could just be a raw coder. You could pick up I don't know about if boot camps are still good. I went to college for my degree, so I'm not very good at recommending other ways. I think I know people that have done certifications as a way to cross over. They go do a training and they get a certification and they get into a company that obviously then develops their skills even more because they're rubbing minds with other great minds. And that's a way to do that. Specific to AI, again, it's like, are you doing cloud? Are you do you want to train? I think training is a good way. Some people even do data labeling, right? And that was more it still happens till now, but it was very more popular earlier because like AI needs to know what's good data and what's bad data. What's like you have a sentence like I am a good guy. Like what's the adjective in here? And like people had to label that kind of stuff or like the car, the address is this. What's the city in this address like format? And like labeling that stuff and teaching the AI what's good and what's not, and then the AI sucks in all those correct labels and can differentiate between what's good and what's bad. So again, there are different ways to get into it. Like if people just you can just I feel like you just have to ask it'd be on like a personal basis, like for me to give a good recommendation because there's just so many like I keep thinking of like different avenues to get into it, tech and AI, but it depends on the person and like what they really want to do. But because it's a tool, right? So many people can use it, and so many different people can use it. Really,
No, sounds good for sure. All right, I'm gonna dive into the questions, and then if there's time, maybe ask some more because there've been a lot of questions, and I want us to answer people's questions. I'm also have a demo. All right, let's start with the first question. The first question was, what are ways marketers and content writers can use, what are ways content creators and I guess writers as well can use AI to stay ahead and ensure job security, I guess more on the content writers, because many businesses can use ChatGPT themselves. In your opinion, what is the first step you take? You know, so I'll put that on me and then Yuzundu, if you also have something to add, you can add as well. Yeah.
Oh you know, I'll tell you this. I to stay ahead, I think it would just be learning how to prompt better than what other companies are willing to do, because they would honestly, and we already seen it. Like there are AI tools out there that generate complete like marketing plans and call and pull out like different like contents and create a schedule and even write the words for you and whatnot. So it's it's gonna be tough. Like honestly, like I think that like to stay ahead would be to just learn these tools yourself and figure out like how to use it. Be a pro at using these tools, so that the different businesses still come to you and rather than using the tools themselves, because you're absolutely, like I mentioned that, like, there are going to be some jobs and some things that AI is just going to be able to do really, 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 really well and really quickly. So this is one of the things. So yeah.
No, that makes sense for sure. And like, Izundu, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, like I think just stay informed and not just informed, like he said, stay practicing, like get your hands on these tools. So if you're an animator, man, like Sora and all these other technologies, they're coming for you and they're coming for your job. And so you have to really you have to like figure out what technologies are coming up in your space, like adjacent to you. If it's like again, if you're an animator, you're doing video creation, you're different space, maybe advertising, I don't know, but figure out what's happening there and see what AI can be used to, and see if there's a tool that helps you do your job better, do your job quicker. Because, like he said, it's not that all these jobs are going to be taken away. It's really the people that learn how to use their computers did better than the people that just did everything manually, like 20 years ago. And the people that got hip to the internet and what the internet could do for them got better than the people that didn't get hip to the internet. And you're just gonna see that with this other tool. It's just, and again, I don't want to go into like whether people like, because someone said something about job security. Job security is not guaranteed for anyone, not even athletes, or you know what I mean. Like you have to just keep improving yourself and providing value that is relatively scarce. And that's the only way you get, like, people will continue to like want you. It's kind of crass to say, but that's how you get job security. So stay developing yourself, stay hip to these tools, and like figure out how do I add this to my arsenal of you know like skills, or what can I do with it? Who can I provide value for with these tools?
No, sounds good for sure. And I'm very interested about the world of like what opportunities are there with AI, because I know sometimes you can be gloomy about it. McKinsey had a study and said that the generation of AI can actually help, reduce the racial wealth gap, because what AI does is scale, and everybody can kind of, that's their hypothesis, can kind of like start on a new basis, on a new level. And one of my favorite quotes is like whatever the office quote, but the correct is like, whatever, like what makes you a good ice hockey player? I don't go where the puck is, I go where the puck is gonna be. So I feel like this is what this call should be for. Like you have to know what the trend is, like me and Izundu has said, you have to be, you don't want to be left behind. You have to know the trend your industry is, and you want to go where the puck is going, where everybody, AI is going to change everybody's industry in some ways or form. You don't want to be stuck in the now and be comfortable. You want to be like, where is the industry going? And use AI to get where your industry is going. So that would be my advice I have on that. The next question was, on a general note, what should startup be thinking of as they deploy and train their AI models? I can answer this one as well because I'm kind of in between that, but I'll let Omi take a first crack at it.
Okay, so I'm going to say two things. One thing is, should you be training a model in the first place, right? Um, you know, the first thing that you should be thinking of is whether you should be the one training that model, right? Because one, training a model is computationally intensive, right? And the fact is that the more data that you can use to train your model, the better your model is going to be. The more compute that you have to in training, the better the model is going to be. So there's data, and then there's compute resources, right? If you're training a model, right, you have to be thinking about, great, do I have enough data, or does somebody else exist out there, OpenAI, have a ton more data, access to a ton more data, both free and licensed, right? That can train a better model than me. Then with compute is expensive. I think one of the a H100 is in the thousands of dollars for one GPU, right? So you have large companies that are pumping billions of dollars into building data centers specifically for training models. There's no startup that I know, except OpenAI, that has billions of dollars to pour into doing this. So the very first question is, should you be training the model in the first place? And you would find that for the most part, the answer is no. You should fine tune, right, an existing foundation model instead, so that when that foundation model improves, your model improves, as opposed to you just training something new. You're gonna burn through so much capital trying to do that in this day and age. So yeah, I mean, you could start off by just trying things out so that you know what works. But you know, if you want to be commercial and stand the test of time, it's going to be tough for you, except if if you don't have like a huge backer like Microsoft that is ready to pour 10 billion, just sneeze 10 billion out for you to continue to build. So all right, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, that's a good answer for sure. And there was a follow-up question to that question, which I'm going to take a pass at. The question was like, what if it's not a large language model? I think it still stands, but from my own experience, because I'm working on like, my work is developing AI and using a large language model, we're using like supply chain AI. I think like kind of mentioning data source is very important. You want to make sure you're going to the main data source, the main database is very important. So it's just the basic data science. Like you want to make sure you're going to the right data source. And you also want to make sure you're labeled your data correctly. So just the basic principles of data science, because like garbage in is garbage out. It's always been that way. So go to the right data source. That's what we've been doing. We've been ensuring like right data labeling. And there's human reinforced learning, right? It's very big, even though a lot of people, AI is, everybody's like, AI is not going to train itself. There's human reinforced learning. You have to, okay, train yourself, but like, okay, to a human, does this look good? Is this work? Does this make sense? So I would say those are the 3 steps. And also ChatGPT is not just for large language models, right? They actually have, like database where, I forgot what it was called, to be honest, but like where you can still optimize your training and stuff like that. So it doesn't just apply to large language models, but I don't know if Izundo or, Omi have more to ask on that, non-language model training.
Yeah, I mean, I can add to that. You're right. A large language model is just that. It's a large language model. Underneath is just a deep. It's just a deep transformer model. That's it. It's still a neural net underneath. If you're doing something cheap that you can get away with just some simple linear regression and whatnot, have at it, but the truth is that like a lot of there is a reason why the focus of most commercial models end up as a deep neural net is because the outputs are always better, and it's almost always is. Granted, you don't need a deep neural net for everything. Like if you're doing something cheap, then you don't need to expend all that resources and building one. Like it's kind of like trying to use a sledgehammer to put a nail in. You don't need that big of a tool, you know. But again, true, it depends on what it is that you're trying to do. If it's something cheap and what you call it, then sure, then you wouldn't even be asking this question in the first place, you know. So, but like being that you want to do something more tangible and whatnot, you first thing you really should ask is, hey, is this something that I should be training myself, or is there a model that exists out there that I can just use that instead?
Well, sounds
I
good.
think
Thank you.
I think to like that fine tuning part, I think is the key bit. ChatGPT provides APIs. I'm sure Gemini by Google will also provide APIs that you can just, you know, use their existing neural network and that big brain they have on those models, whether it's Gemini Pro or GPT-4 or GPT-5, whatever, or Claude 3, and you plug that into your data because it doesn't know your proprietary startup information that you know you're trying to sell to your consumers, and they can, I don't know how exactly those different companies do the data protection, but they can sandbox your stuff, and you know then you can provide your clients or whoever, whatever your startup is doing, you can provide them that proprietary technology in a way because it's fine tuned based on your own mix. It's like, I don't have a good analogy for this, but it's you're getting access to this big tool that can do a lot, and then you just fine tune it with like a different, you know, cap or a different like tool head, and you do the exact work you want to do for your startup. So yeah, I don't know if it's training per se. It's more like that word fine tuning is what really like stuck for me, and I just want to emphasize that. So go look on there. There's ChatGPT APIs, and there's also even you can make your own little um GPTs. There's GPT Builder, and you can like kind of like tell it to GPT for you in a different way. So there's GPT-4 with, and that's, I think I saw something like that in the comments. If you don't have any coding experience, that is something that doesn't require any coding experience. Just go in there, build your chat GPT, build your own version of it, and you'll see other people's versions of theirs. And some people might even expose what they did behind the scenes. So you could be able to see. I might even share mine. I've made a couple too. So maybe I'll share that as well, in addition to the prompt sheet. But yeah, that's what I'll
Well,
say for the
sounds good.
startup question.
No, that's good and very detailed. Thank you. Yeah, and talking about GPTs, yeah, we have Keaton's gonna, show the GPTs we kind of using with like the group that we have, and then you can show yours as well, because so people can kind of see that. All right, this question there's a lot of questions. I didn't think we'd have this many questions, but I guess people are really engaged. One question was wondering what existing industries and the specific product services within them, OMI thinks innovations at the intersection of robotics and AIs like drones. It's basically specific asking like, software and I would say hardware, what industries will they impact? I guess that's basically the question, but feel free to, clarify
What
if that's not what we're asking.
So let me get this right. What they're asking is what industries are going to be impacted by AI and drones, do I think? Sure. Any general rule of thumb is that any industry that requires um, people to parse large amounts of information is going to be heavily affected by AI. Any industry that requires a repetitive and mundane um, physical task is going to be heavily impacted by robots. So examples is in the factories, there are plenty of repetitive and mundane tasks, and that's why robots are majorly adopted in factories, right? And for the AI, which is probably what like you want to hear more of, is that I think legal, that's one. Medicine, that's two. Medicine heavily is going to be what you call it. In fact, the next battlefront for AI is going to be in the medical regulation world on how and when to use AI for certain medical instances. Things that require people to read like a whole ton of text, like think search. In fact, with Perplexity is already doing this with search, right? Think libraries. Think anything that requires any form of research. AI is just going to be able to do it better because it can parse large amounts of data better. There are tons of stuff like that. Writing, anything that you have to generate text, AI is going to do it a lot better. Anything that you have to generate images and soon video as well, very quickly, AI is going to do it better and faster. So these are all the fields that there are lots of fields that sort of fall into that. So these are all the fields that that will be heavily affected.
Sounds good. We have like 4 more questions. It's a lot of questions. This one is very specific. I don't know if anybody would have answered to this. But the question was, do you think ASIC chips can ever replace GPU for training AI? So I don't know if anybody has subject matter expert on that.
ASIC.
Yeah. So okay, I studied computer engineering, so like that's more something I'm more familiar with, and that's just a type of chip. They used ASICs to replace GPUs in Bitcoin mining. And again, like Omi explained earlier, like GPUs are just really good at doing parallel tasks. A lot of parallel tasks that are simpler, and that's really what AI is do. What like that training of neural networks is about. And I think people are seeing, and Bitcoin went through that too. They went from CPUs to GPUs and then ASICs. And so I think, and I recently listened to a podcast on it, where there's this Harvard dropout, 21-year-old, started a company called Etched. Let me just type that in here. Etched AI. And he started this company. They raised, I think, maybe $5 to $10 million. There's a lot of people in that space, and they're trying to see how they can upstart NVIDIA, which is a big task because NVIDIA is really like focused on this GPU process. They're optimizing it, and everybody's building like these workhorses for transformers, right? Which is the current like AI technology, and so I think there's a chance, especially again because of that Bitcoin experience, and I haven't listened to this founder. I think you never know. I'm like, who's to say it doesn't? And you know, like the I think ASIC stands for application specific integrated circuits or something like that. This something like that. But they tend to be far more like surgical in terms of like their purpose. Because GPUs are still a little bit more general. They're more general. CPUs are the most general, right? They're general purpose. You can use it for video gaming, audio, text, writing, whatever. And then GPUs were more like for graphic stuff and like ray tracing and more again parallel computations. And then you'd pair them with a CPU to get like the benefits of both worlds. Whereas you already know what you're doing with the training of a neural network. And that's what people really want to reduce the time. You know, Grok, like Elon's X's AI, they train that for months. And if you can get that training time down to like a week, people will pay you a whole lot of money for that. And I think that's where people are they're trying to, again, maybe apply Moore's law or like some type of law that reduces the speed to the cost and time to progress. I think that's the business proposition from those kids. Like, hey, we can do this better if you get really specialized chips that are only designed to train neural networks. And then to add to that, I saw someone. This is a company. I think it's Grok, but with a Q. So
Oh,
Grok
yeah.
is AI, is yeah, and Grok is with a Q, and they have their system is like little small training, little smaller networks within. It's like little brains within one big to make up a big brain versus like just having this expansive big brain. And so they have like little like GPU clusters to that pass tax, and I think that optimizes. So there are different approaches, even on the chip level, I think, to optimizing and improving AI technology. So maybe
So well, that's pretty.
ASICs, maybe something else, maybe FPGAs.
No, that's interesting for sure. And I think that's also an opportunity, like data architecture and kind of like, chip, architecture is very interesting. Like we don't know. That's something we still don't know yet. And that shows an opportunity. But that's very detailed, it's very interesting for sure. And yeah, I follow Grok with a Q. Some of my favorite whatever podcasters are actually investors in that company. So whatever they have run like the runtime, whatever. I don't want to know that too much about AI on here, but like yeah, the runtime, I don't know, like the KPI on the runtime is pretty cool, and like so it's very interesting as well. So it's very interesting for sure. But yeah, if you want to learn more about AI, like honestly, like Izundo's podcast is really good. Avant-garde, and you should do more about AI. I'm actually very surprised a lot of people asking a lot of questions. It's actually very interesting. It looks like there's actually interest here and people are engaged. And maybe we'll do more of this actually, but okay, we have two more questions or three. There's a little more of these questions keep coming. But can someone share their LinkedIn? I'm gonna share their LinkedIn. We're gonna answer these three questions, and then we'll show these GPTs from Ketan, prompt from Izundo, and get Omi a general advice for all of us, and then we'll just end it so we can give people their time back. The last three questions, one of them has two parts. First was, what do you think the future of customs AI would be in terms of like mobile apps? What do you think the future of custom AIs would be in terms of building like mobile apps?
Custom AIs in terms of building mobile apps. I'm not sure if I understand. Like, the future of custom AIs for mobile apps, for mobile
A mobile
applications.
app. Yes,
Uh,
and you can somebody clarify the question if that's not it. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what I will say to that, I think a lot of the AI work is going to happen in the cloud, and you're just going to end up delivering the results to the apps. I mean, yes, Apple and Google, I think Google has Gemini Nano, which is I think designed to work on like more resource constrained devices, maybe mobile, maybe like a PlayStation. But I don't like I don't think you're going maybe I mean right now I have GPT on my phone and I have Gemini, like I have their apps. Um being accessible. Oh, maybe there's a little more clarification on that question. But I mean, like I said, with the GPT builder, you can customize a chat GPT again for like, or if you actually go into chat GPT and use their APIs and plug it to your own application, you can customize it. And then that application ends up being a web app that you port to Google and Apple, or you make a native app in Kotlin or in Swift. Yes, I think so. But again, like Omi said, you don't want to get into the whole training and building your own AI. Like someone has already done so much, there's so much money, computation, and there's already free ones. Like Meta has their own free LLM. So just use those and customize it, fine tune it for your use case scenario. Because the time, I mean, think of all the hours those people put into the hours they put into learning the stuff, developing the stuff, you want to go and compete against that. It's just too much when you can just use it for free. Not for free, but you can use it at a cost and just pass that cost down.
You can actually use it for free. Like if you, well, I mean,
Yeah.
open source ones, if you can run it locally, then technically you ain't paying for it. It's your own, like bills. But anyway, but that's that. But now that there's more clarification on the question, you know, I think that like the feature of custom AIs is that I think I do agree that I actually think that AIs are gonna be, I mean, it's gonna remain the same, but smaller models. But it's gonna, I believe that the future is gonna have to be a model, have to have a model controller that either points certain tasks to the on-device model or routes it to one in the cloud based off of some cheap prediction of what the turnaround time is going to be for each. For building mobile apps, I think that most folks are going to just fine tune existing models, or use the what would soon be the local on-device models that are burnt into chips on the local device itself. I think that's where the future is going to be. Apple is already doing a little bit of this, but I think that Samsung, but it's only a matter of time before Samsung and Google start actually creating custom AI chips for mobile devices themselves for folks to run different models on. So that's sort of where I think things are gonna land. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, for those answers. I'll make it more simple. Like I would just say yes. I think it's gonna get to a point where it's so accessible to build mobile apps. I'm very interested, I come from like an investment background a little bit, and one of the things I've been looking at with regards to AI is follow the money. Like, how did the internet boom happen? And the actually money went from like, the infrastructures, like those like connecting like the, pipe, like the network lines and cable to like software to like Apple. And that we're kind of seeing the same thing with like, AI. It's like, first the chips, like NVIDIA and all these companies are kind of that. Then it's going to like open, AI and Gemini, which is the software companies. And like we just mentioned here, once those AI are built, what would happen is like there's open source of these models. What would happen is just people would just use these models and start creating apps, which I think is the question. And so yes, it's gonna get accessible if I was gonna make a bet. It's just a matter of time.
Oh, so the question was about using AI to build apps.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wait,
think that.
exists though. Like, I mean, look at GPT Pilot can do that for you. GPT Pilot, even what's that AI software engineer that just launched a few weeks ago? Devin will be able to do that. I would also use there's some tool that just launched an AI agent into it. Builder.io has an AI agent now integrated with it for Builder.io is a no-code tool for building mobile apps, and now they have an AI agent say, hey, change the font to this, and will do that for you. So yeah, so these tools actually already exist. So look out for them. Just search, you'll find them. I've already given a few, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the last two questions. I know, Izundu and Kitan can probably stay with me. I know, I just asked for your 1 hour of your time, and I know your time is very valuable.
I
So,
can.
but I'll just go on. Sorry.
No, I said I can stay.
Sounds good. No, thank you. So the last two some of these questions are kind of interesting, but first start with this smaller one. AI seems to be impacting us in every aspect of life. Is there anything that is AI resistant? I'll have this Izundu and you answer.
I could answer. I would say I think performance art is going to be the hardest one. Um, I don't see AI doing a bicycle kick in the 92nd minute of the World Cup. So I think those type of things, I think people don't I mean maybe there's gonna be a space where people pay to watch robots fight and watch robots like play football. Um I think for now those type of things are still like there's a special connection people are looking for when they go to those kind of events. There's a special wow in how people push their human bodies to do certain things. And that I would say is AI resistant. Not AI resistant, but and obviously people that figure out how to use AI, whether it's, you know, to improve their eating, how they're working out, players now have all these trackers that are like tracking every single data and like optimize, and that data is run through some intelligent system to optimize their workout and their training to make them even better performers. So it's not necessarily AI resistant, it's definitely AI enhanced. I'll say that. And but you're not going to see a situation. Not you're not going to. I'm not gonna knock on wood. I'm not gonna say that it's not gonna happen, but I think or concerts, performers like I don't know if AI is gonna do what Wizkid does or what Burna Boy does. I'm just bringing it home. So yeah, I think those spaces are very like a very gonna be hard to get into for AI and like or replace completely. Uh, Therapy, management, education, definitely going to be AI enhanced, but I still think people want people want a real teacher. I think to teach them, especially kids, in schools. I can see a game helping out with that whole process, teaching, but hmm, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's not even so resistant, but I know I think performance art is going to be hard to replace. Like Beyonce, what they do, the performances. I don't think the girls want to see robots like doing all those moves. It doesn't really go, with the whole um girl power stuff. How? You're not even a girl, you're a robot. So yeah.
I mean, I would certainly agree with that. I think that 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 the performing arts are going to be one that's going to be really tough to for AI to sort of come into. But I do think that the vast majority of things are going to be AI enhanced and not like replaced. There are going to be some things that will be replaced, but the vast majority of things are just going to be enhanced. So I mean, and I think we should accept it. Like it's a net good, to be honest. That's what I think. But then again, I'm biased, so.
Nice. Yeah, this is another interesting question. I think Omi you would enjoy, and even Izundu, because it has to do with ethics part of AI. I know Omi you have experience with ethics part of AI, but I'll just ask for word. Let me see. So with my current grad program in the healthcare field, there's a lot of talk about AI being a tool that violates ethics, about a lot of because a lot of information isn't fully researched or they don't have cited actual research resources. My first question is there an issue concerning addressing the ethical information that is not okay? Let me see. My first question is this an issue of concern, and how do we go about addressing the ethical side of it to avoid bias? And that's first question. Second question is, based on their experience, is there a need for regulation and oversight of AI-generated content and use? So I think that's just based on ethics and regulation of AI. Yeah, what's the overall?
Yeah, this is a big one. There are a few questions in there. So one, the idea of AI not being able to, of a model not being able to tell you, or an AI system not being able to tell you where what it used to sort of come up with its content or its prediction from is old. There are training mechanisms now or frameworks now, or strategies now that ease that up. Uh, just research things like RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Things like that, like the model will give you an output and can literally point you to, okay, I use this, and that. So it can be done. With respect to the ethics bit, I think that again, it boils down to the data, right? Anything to, because AI is just a mathematical system, like it's statistics. It's not magic, like it's a whole bunch of weights and vectors. That's it, right? So it's math, right? So if you everything else, if an AI is biased, it's because the data that it was trained on was biased. It's nothing else, right? The poor thing, the thing that people don't want to talk about is that us as human beings, we are extremely biased, right? So if any AI that is trained on our data, right, that we have produced is going to reflect our biases. That's just the truth, right? Now, there are ways to combat this, but you're actually skewing the data into a different direction, right? So there are ways to do this, and people do this today. So you can skew your data set, say, hey, you know what? Rather than say, I don't know, have this particular bias skew it in a way so that it is not, right. Force, let's say, a more equal and equitable data set so that it can be trained better. Like, you can do these things. With respect to regulation, hell yeah. I think that unchecked AI can be the undoing of a lot of things that we hold dear in humanity. So we need regulation to prevent things like that. I think there are simple, like low hanging fruits, like laws that don't exist right now that absolutely should, right? Like things like how a how a model is used. Like, for instance, like a model cannot be used in the determining of if something if a human being should be alive or dead, right? So it can be used in the firing mechanisms for weapons. I think that at least a human being should be the one pulling the trigger. To be frank, if not, we could have Terminator situation on our hands. Stuff like that. Things like anything that is going to affect the livelihood of people might need human a human validation loop as part of the training as and part of the training cycle. Stuff like that. There are things like this that we can have. Don't train on kids' data, don't there's so many things that we can come up with, but I do think that like these things should be in place.
Yeah, Izundu, what do you think? Any thoughts?
Sorry, I was muted. I think personally, focus on regulation, ethics, all of that. I think first, I leave it up to the government. That's why we set up government to do these, like, keep to promote public welfare. And that comes with promoting public welfare. Setting up rules and regulations. The federal government, I think Biden signed some executive order, like really long, trying to start off the guidelines for regulating AI, and ultimately that's who I hold responsible for that job. Like that's why we pay our taxes, so crazy people don't drive, people don't shoot me in the street, and hopefully, Terminator doesn't happen. That's what I need the government to do. And then there's also, us, I think we have some responsibility choosing, like, without dollars, without social capital, where do we decide to work? Sometimes we don't have a choice, but where do we decide to work? Where do we decide to spend our money? And try and like figure out what AI tools do their best, to create responsible AI. I know all these companies will tell you they have like some committee in their AI team that is responsible AI or whatever. But trying to figure out these companies that are committed to building AI tools and not just like lipstick over the problem like Google tried with Gemini, where they just throw in diverse into the keyword and then it skews the data so bad that it looks comical. So I think, yeah, because at the end of the day, I can't really put the blame on businesses. I can't tell a business to be ethical. That's not their job. And in capitalism, like, yes, you can, but I think personally, the way I've just seen it, capitalism, businesses are designed to do one thing and one thing only, make profits for shareholders. And I think they're really good at that. And you even see with OpenAI, and that's a whole separate story. And they had their whole bust up. They fired their CEO, hired him back in 72 hours or 100 or something hours. It's conflicting when you're trying to say, hey, let's make a uber ton of money and let's do the best good we can. It's really hard to do both of those things at the same time. So telling an AI company not to cut corners, not to use any ragtag data set they find that they think, and then do you want them to go spend the money in hiring people, AI ethicists? So I mean, if you require them as like by law to do that, then they have to do that if they don't have a functional business. Yeah, so I think you have to do it from the government point, and we're seeing that with social media, where the government is trying to retroactively like limit social media because they're saying, oh, it's leading to suicide, leading to anxiety, it's leading to misinformation. Oh, social media has run amok. Da, 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 da. And it's like so retroactive. Nobody thought about it in the time. Everybody was just focused on all the capital is being generated and made. So I leave it to the government, and then people choose wisely where you work, because again, people form the businesses, people form these companies, where you spend your money.
No, that makes sense. Thanks for that. No, go ahead.
No. Yeah, just really like, we vote, we make up the government, we pay taxes. So let's try and
it's so interesting.
leave that responsibility to them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to be like a devil's advocate and make the argument against, right?
Yeah.
Like, because why people have that against, there's this idea of regulatory capture. When a technology is new, and like the big players are gonna be like, oh, that's what OpenAI was doing. Like, oh, this technology is so powerful, it should not be in the hands of everybody. Now we need to work with the government to make sure everybody does not have access to this technology. So that's one reason why regulation can be too much early regulations. That's the argument against early regulation, because it comes from regulatory capture is where the big players in the industry gets to define the regulation and kind of stop the small players from being playing along. So that's the first one aspect of it. The second part, I'm kind of in the middle, but there's this heavy capitalist like theory that like, okay, government fixing regulations. This is the, I don't know if I agree, but I'll make the argument. They say government regulation is expensive, right? You know, like you said, Biden signing a bill, and there's, you know, those people at this financial analysts like, oh, it costs a lot to spend this regulation, and usually money, you know, in these bills that goes to other things, and like that's like more debt. And so like, and also to be fair, most of us have seen those like tech hearings where old Congress members are like questioning tech, you know, CEOs, and the questions they're asking is like, you don't even understand what is going on here. Like, is it the people we want to be, you know, regulating this new technology? And so that's kind of interesting. That's the counter argument of that, like regulatory capture, where like, you know, big players can, you know, shut the door after they have made it to the hoop, and like, you know, maybe a government that does not really understand the technology can, you know, regulate something. So those are like the, you know, argument against, but there's pro argument as well, like, you know, Skynet, you know, and like companies, you guys already made this point, but it's very interesting. One of the most interesting meme I saw is like, oh, we destroyed the world, but for a small amount of time, we made maximum shareholder profits. And I feel like that's what is going right now. Like, you know, just like the companies are like, no, AI everywhere. Just like, we don't care about people. Let's just make maximum profits. So I think we have to balance those two things. And that's like really interesting. Like, you know, shareholder profit. Humanity also has to be like a thing, and it's getting to sci-fi technology, but I don't know.
Humanity has to be a thing.
Yeah, humanity has to be a thing.
That's true.
No. And then I'll put this last question, like just a fun question, like AGI, Skynet. When do you think it's gonna happen? I'll ask you to, if you were to, you know, over or under, like the number of years for us to have like an AGI, for people that maybe don't have enough knowledge, is basically a computer or artificial intelligence that is better than humans in every way. Like, and some people even define it as better than all the humans that have ever lived in everything. So over or under, when do you think we'll see AGI? We'll see it in our lifetime, 5 years, 10 years, next year? What do you think?
You know, at the pace that we're going, I'll tell you something. The interest in AI has not been this high like ever. The amount of money that has been pumped into AI has not been this high ever, and the things that certain companies are doing just to get ahead is it's crazy. Like they're spending so much money. Like Microsoft wants to build what $100 billion data center just to train data. This is unheard of, right? Like this has never happened before, right? I think because the thing is that like the path to AGI requires a little bit of of algorithmic breakthroughs, just a little bit. Like we're almost there, right? But it's probably going to require a lot more actual computational capacity. That's going to be that for the longest time was the hurdle to cross, that nobody's going to be able to spend that much. We're not going to get to that point whereby we can train this big of a model. The thing is that like people are spending that much, and the path and the path to AGI is going to be with LLMs, which is great because it's how we communicate as human beings anyway. Like I'm saying, speech and text this is the path of our communication anyway. So I think with all that, I would say that definitely within the next, I would predict that within the next 10 years, we are gonna have AGI, and that's a very conservative, what you call it, estimate. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in the next like 3 to 5 years. To be frank, I would not be surprised if it happens in 3 years. I don't think it's something that we are going to be, oh my God, AGI, AGI, AGI. I think the other thing I think is actually going to be likely is that we'll have a bunch of false starts, like in the sense of like, oh, we have AGI, and everybody's like, we have AGI, we have AGI. And then a few months down the line, or like a year down the line, something new comes and we're like, oh, we thought that was AGI. No, 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 no. This is AGI. That is not. And then we're gonna get to, before we get to a point whereby it's just obvious that that there are different levels to AGI. With respect to a super intelligence, I do think that that is much longer out. And I think that it's going to be much longer out because when AGI comes, I think governments are going to pump the brakes on AI pretty quickly after that because of, fear. They'll be like, oh, if this continues, where's it going to lead? We need to stop. We don't need all this. And that's probably what's going to happen. But that's just my prediction. But I think that we are almost there. In fact, there's some outlets that are saying that OpenAI has actually reached AGI, but just haven't announced it yet. Project Q or something like that. I was like, okay, that all right. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Who knows? But that's my prediction.
How about you? Is it over under 10 years, 5 years? I think.
Under 10 years. I mean, that, like, again, I like Omi's point about the amount of money, the amount of willpower. It's like, out of the Tower of Babylon, it's like they're gonna build this thing to the sky. They're gonna build it to God. And that's what I really think. I think it's just so much money. Like talking about Microsoft and Sam Altman, who's the co-founder of OpenAI. He ended up, like, this new story saying he's looking for $8 trillion to build, and the Saudi Arabia just put out an AI fund, 40 billion. And when you think that Microsoft's investment in OpenAI was 13 billion, and we're already here where they have video producing capabilities, and now maybe they've shown good restraint to not put that in the hands of regular people just yet. But I think there's just so much interest in this technology, and people are eating at it from different parts. Like, people are making the training quicker, people are making the prompting better, people are making the inference better, people are making the like creating, even figuring out ways to clean out data sets, get better data sets in there, expanding data sets, finding niche data sets. Like, there's so much brain power and financial motivation in this space that it's like a race to the top. Like, who gets there first really might eat the whole cake. And so it's hard to predict that it's not going to happen, because you're betting against like human greed, and like at its core, you know what I mean? Like, at the core, it's like, just, I mean, willpower, yes, people have passion, yes, but you're really betting at people's need to see their investments turn to more dollars. And I think when people are that determined, I'm not going to bet against that. And so definitely team under 10 years. And another, like, yes, is that side, but then we take a look at the technology and where we're at. We're close to it in terms of like just certain things that are done intelligently. And in a way, like, the whole point of AGI is to be more intelligent than the average human. I'm sorry, but the average human, okay, I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke. But the I think the bar is not crazy high, and I don't. I'm maybe this is the nuance that really affects AGI. And talking about AGI is because we don't know exactly, where the line is. Where do we cross over into AGI? It's like, what of social intelligence? What of emotional intelligence? Like, because anything the computer is doing, again, like Omi said, this is math. This is a probabilistic prediction model. Like, all it's doing is predicting. And that, I mean, in a sense, that's what intelligence is. Like, you use old knowledge and apply it to new problems, and you predict, like, well, what do I do here? How do I touch this thing I've never touched before. Oh, fire. I've never seen that. And so I think that's like that gray area is going to be an issue where we ever like, oh, are we there yet? Are we not there yet? But I think with the amount of money, the way where we're at already, what we can do with the technology, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely team under 10 years for sure.
That's good. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And Omi and Izundo, I really appreciate you guys coming for this. Like, it's been a lot of knowledge. I really appreciate you doing this. And when I created like not exclusive, I wanted it to be like an access to information, like just study from different places, like not an exclusive, like you don't have to be in the tech community to know what this is. You don't have to be like young, or you don't have to, work in this space, just democratizing access. And that's the goal behind that. But also, I just want it to be information based. Everybody can find information. I want it to be also practical. So I have, it's good to see I have like, Kiton yet kind of show we're using, GPT, like, custom GPTs to do like organize events we do at the group. And then, Izudu can also show like prompts and his GPTs he has built. But I'm gonna have, Omi give us final words, like just, just somebody that's seen it, been in the industry, final words, what should we look at? What should we, be doing? And what are just your final words? And then we'll go into the practical aspect of this.
I mean, sure. Thank you for that. This has been great. Final words. I mean, I think this is such an exciting space. What OpenAI did by effectively giving a state of the art model to creating a mechanism whereby the average human, anyone can interact directly with a state of the art model is really what lit the fuel that poured on this fire that has been burning, for the past, year and a half now. And so much has been achieved within that time. Like so many companies have been spun up within that time. Like people who do not know anything about AI before that time are starting companies in the field. People are pivoting their existing companies into the AI field like crazy. Think of all the Web3 companies that are now AI companies for some reason. Like I think that like the opportunity is still very much there, but and I think because of that, people shouldn't focus on what AI is going to take away from them. Like, oh, it's going to take my job, it's going to take my ability to do this. Rather, they should change and embrace and learn how they can leverage different AIs to make themselves better. So I think that like that's really where like people should be. You don't need to go to school to go get a degree in AI. There's tons of free courses and trainings and whatnot out there. If you want to get in deep into understanding at the ground level. But even that you don't need. For you to leverage AI, you don't need that. You just need to start using some of these tools and learning how to use them. Think of it like playing a game, like learn by doing. So those are my last words. Learn by doing.
Sounds good. I really, no, thank you so much for that. And I really like the ending on the positive side of things. Very interesting for sure. And I think we should, talk about that more. And one interesting concept that's been going on, it's so funny, I saw this tweet. It was like, there were huge tech layoffs, but 6 months later, there's now open source Canva, there's open source Figma, there's open source Adobe, open source AI, open source Google. Like these laid off, like tech employees are actually disputing the companies that laid them off. And it's never been easier to start a company. Like, you mentioned Devin AI. Now you don't need to have like a field of engineer. You just need a couple, and then you have like a cool, like developer software. You can really do business analysis with AI. And that's very interesting to me on the concept of where this might go. It's just like there's not just big companies, but there's several small companies. And that's kind of what McKinsey was also saying, why that potentially can lead to a redistribution of wealth. So hopefully it works that way. And, that's something exciting to see, right? Like, oh, yeah, all of us might not be able to work for Google or Microsoft in 5 years, but we can all have our, Googles and Microsofts with our specific level of audience. So just on a positive note, that's something I try to look forward to, and that's exciting. And hopefully, it goes that way. Sounds good. Thank you so much. All right, Keaton, do you want to go do the actual demo part and just show some of what we've been saying how it comes to life?
Yes, for sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Keaton. My credentials don't really matter for this, and they probably pale in comparison to all the other panelists. But I work in digital marketing and web design, and I'm also part of an organization that has events out here in Dallas with Tomiwa. And I've been pretty interested in AI. I find myself using AI every day. There's a lot of great uses for it. Obviously, there's a lot of complex things you can do with it, but I think it can enhance your productivity a lot in just like everyday tasks. Because, as has been said multiple times in this presentation, it's AI might not replace your job, but like you might be replaced by someone who uses AI. So I just want to show a couple practical examples of how I use it in my everyday life and how, we use it as well in our organization. And I figured I would start from the basic to the more complex. So I'm going to share my screen here really quick. So just very simple example. I think, you guys see can you guys see my screen currently? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just to start at the very basic, I feel like for very repetitive tasks, we don't really need to be doing them anymore. So, for example, I had this thing at work where these published dates right here, they're not in the date format. So Excel didn't recognize it as a date. And I mean, there may be like Excel formulas that you can do to like recreate this to make it fit a date format, but I didn't really know any Excel format, the Excel formulas to do that. So all I did was just copy this whole thing right here, pasted it into ChatGPT, and this would be something you can do on the free version of ChatGPT. So you just copy this. I said, convert these into like a date formats for Excel, and then did all that for me. So just very simple, tasks that might be manual and repetitive and laborious to do. We don't need to do them anymore. Diving a little deeper here. So same kind of thing here. So with the free version of ChatGPT, you can't build your custom GPT. But what I used to do before I decided to pay for it was I would just kind of like keep these prompts, just have them in certain sheets. So if there's something you're doing at work where like, you have to do the same thing over and over again. So like for this one, for example, I had a couple words here. So pretty much I needed to convert all of these to like into a format like this. So I kind of just saved this prompt, and then every time I needed to do it, I would just change the words and put it in there. So just basic simple tasks, increase your productivity. I think ChatGPT is pretty great for that. Then getting into some more complex stuff, you can actually create your own GPT. So you can pretty much give the AI certain rules to follow. So for example, if like I wanted to if for this prompt before, I would need to like manually copy this and paste it each time. But with the custom GPTs, I could pretty much just create a GPT that can just do this for me, and then I would just paste all the words, and then it's just going to do that automatically. So we use that. So we run a weekly trivia night. And finding, questions every week can be a hassle. Before we were doing it before AI, and that was a struggle. But I think using this has cut down like that time by maybe like an hour or two. So pretty much this is how it works. I'm going here, the group trivia creator. and I'm going to show you the inner workings. We're not going to get into how to like create it, but it's pretty straightforward to create. You can actually just come to this create, and then it will like prompt you, like ask you questions about what you're trying to create. But for this one, because I needed it to be very specific, I actually just hand wrote all the instructions that I wanted. So, it has the name, the description. I'll show you a little bit of the instructions as well. So I go pretty deep here. Maybe after we see Zundu's prompts, maybe I'll update this to make it better. But pretty much I told it everything that I needed, that it needs to know about the game. I told it our target audience. I also give it examples. I think examples can be good. So for example, as an example, weekly shakeup is something where like each week we do something different based on the times, So an example I had here, if it's March Madness that week, you'll create questions about that, or that will be the topic we talk about. So you pretty much just give it all the instructions that you need, and then have it run. And you can use this in so many different ways. Just as an example, Oh, okay. Another important part of this is also you can feed it knowledge. So obviously we run trivia every week and we don't want the questions to be the same. So what we do here is I actually have a spreadsheet in here of all the questions that we've done like so far. And every week I kind of update it. So I told the GPT, the custom GPT, that it shouldn't repeat any of the questions. So I think that's a pretty great part about this about the creating your custom GPTs. You can feed it, your own knowledge. It also has like an image generator, and obviously it can also write code and all that stuff. Just to see how it works, I'll just type in just one little question. I'll just say, give me some ideas for weekly shake up this week. Let's see what it does. Okay, so you guys can see that it's telling me Earth Day celebration is coming up. Also gives me a couple questions I can already use. Apparently April is National Poetry Month, so that's something we can use as well. And it's going to keep going to keeps generating. But pretty much this GPT knows everything about us. It knows our target audience. It knows like it has a persona, it knows we're trying to be funny and all that stuff. So it's really, really useful. One thing that I have also found pretty useful is I created a GPT so I called it Ketone Loss and Career Coach. So pretty much, I hate writing cover letters. Honestly, if a job has a cover letter, I might not even apply to it, which might not be the smartest. But anyway, I created this Ketone Loss and Career Coach. So pretty much, I fed it my resume. I fed it kind of like my ambitions, what I'm looking for, and then I also have like a sample cover letter that I've written in the past and I liked. And then pretty much what I do here is I just kind of like paste the job description and I'm like, help me write a cover letter for this. It already knows my background. It knows everything, well, not everything about me, but at least career-wise, it does. So I find it pretty useful. And yeah. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this. You can obviously create whatever you like. One other one I have is just kind of like group manager, an idea generator, which I'm kind of like, I've told it everything about us. Again, our target audience, everything, our goals. And, if say we're looking for some idea for an event, I can just pop in here. I think pretty much you can create these GPTs to be personal assistants, in different aspects. You can create it could be your marketing manager, it could be I think creating it for any business you run could also just be pretty good. But that's pretty much all I have to show you guys. I don't know if there's any questions or if anyone has anything to add, any of the panelists have anything to add to this.
I love the career coach because I use ChatGPT. I use GPT-4 for my resume tweaking and writing cover letters. And I honestly Like I should have, like every time I throw in the resume, I throw in the job description, we go back and forth before we get the actual cover letter I want. And I feel like I should have, like, I have GPT builders for other things, and this is because I'm there so often because of like job applications and stuff like that. I need to make a GPT build. So like major kudos. That's really cool. I love the career code GPT builder.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah. And I see also a question in chat is to use it for graphic ideas. Pretty much anything with GPT-4, it can generate graphics for you. I've actually kind of used like the manager and idea generated to generate some graphics for flyers and things. But pretty much if you just use ChatGPT-4, you just have to tell it to create whatever you want. And again, if you have a custom GPT that already kind of knows maybe your themes and what you guys are going for, obviously it'll make the process a lot simpler.
Nice. Thank you, Keaton. That was very detailed and very important. I want to highlight two things there. And I want to be dramatic a little bit, but this couple of years can really change things, right? You see how people, like a lot of people, there's tech layoff, people are looking for jobs. You see how people are trying to get ahead with AI already. Keaton is already using like a career coach to come up with like, cover letters. I know somebody that had a custom GPT to automatically apply for jobs, like 50 jobs a day. This is what you should be looking at. This is what's gonna, I feel like this is what's gonna differentiate like people, like AI, is down the line. This 1 or 2 years before schedule, is AI gonna take my job? This 1 or 2 years, but people are not, really into the game like that. This is where you can stay ahead, apply for jobs, apply for roles, whatever you want to do, be there early, number one. And number two is just interesting, right? Like, see how Keaton created his career coach, right? And his was like, oh, I've always wanted that. And somebody is like, well, I've always wanted that. That's it's still early, but that's the potential business idea, right? Like, oh, I can actually release this open source or closed source where people can actually use APIs to consume what I have to create their own, career like coach and guide. So these are very interesting things that AI can enable, like just like rapid business ideas and POC and commercialization. So those are two things I want us to take from there, and practical examples for sure.
One other thing I did want to say, because I've been thinking about this as like with this career coach thing is I wonder because I'm sure a lot of people are using AI to write cover letters, and I wonder like how jobs are fighting, like how companies are fighting against that, like I wonder if there's and I don't know the data for this. I'm sure maybe somebody will do some research about it, but I wonder like if the AI generated cover letters might do not as good as maybe handwritten ones. I don't know if they can detect that sort of thing, but that's something like I've just kind of like been ruminating on, just kind of, I guess maybe just like maybe a cautionary tale.
I think they can.
Right.
I recently applied to Anthropic, like earlier this week, last week. Really nice role, so I was like, I have to apply. But in the resume, they're like, please do not use AI. We want to see how you
Wow.
communicate naturally. What I do now is I let AI
Tell it to write like a human.
No, first of all, yeah, I would at first like make it sound conversational. And if you tell it to make it sound conversational, it starts like throwing like slang in there. I'm like, you're not gonna do that. Like, we need it to be conversational yet professional. And then tweak. But what I do then is rewrite it. Like I read it, like I rewrite it in my own like lingo with my own like style. But it's a little like work like organizationally it's the same structure, but when you read it this was a human. And my friend like has a works my friend is in Web3, um not to Omi, like there's a system that like can tell you even the model that made the prompt, the content that that content came from, not just even knowing that it was like AI made. So, and obviously educators want that tool, to be able to like tell if kids are doing their homework with AI. So there's real value for it. Yeah, just personal anecdote there. The using AI generated cover letters.
I want to add that there are AI detectors out there, but just as there are AI detectors out there, there are AI detector beaters out there.
Right.
You know, there are uh, there are tools out there for you to generate your text with AI and then put it into this tool, and then it changes it so that it's not going to be able to be detected. It's crazy. I mean, this is it's going to be a crazy world that we live in. I think that like people are going to just continue to fight it and then just accept it. Just as I don't know, I may be dating myself here, but like, there was a time that in classes you could not use calculator. They said no, you cannot use a calculator for this test. You have to calculate it, by hand. And I think that like at some point schools just gave up and like, you know what? Use it. Just learn how to use it because you're never gonna be calculating this thing by hand anyway. So, but yeah. I think we're gonna be in that space. I think schools should just learn how to should also need to adapt to learn how to um, have their students use it ethically and for the things that they want them to actually learn themselves. Give different incentives for that or change the way that they test for that because man, I know that all the kids, they're using AI to do all their homework and not doing anything anymore. But anyway, yeah, that's just me.
That's interesting for sure. I think somebody had their hands raised. Do you have a question? Do you still have a question? I think it was Vanque. But I think it's just interesting. One comment is like, we're really in the matrix. Like, isn't really try to use AI to apply to an AI company. That's really like very interesting to me. Like the world is really in the matrix already. It's so interesting. Like so many things to come. And also just to like, we knew opportunity, we knew problems comes with opportunity. So funny, like we said, okay, now people are using, AI to come up with assignment. They're like, okay, people are also coming up with business to like, find that. And people are coming up with businesses to like beat that. So that's also like an economy there that is really interesting as well. Something to look at. All right, cool. Looks like we don't have any other questions. So I'm just gonna pass it to Izundu to show us like your prompt. Engineer, we're very excited about that, and we can end this. Okay.
No, I sent the prompt sheet, a prompt sheet. I have a bunch on my phone. It took me a while to even find it because like now I just like imbibe it. But the core thing is like figuring out like when I make a prompt, I start with a role. So I tell it like, assume that you're a renowned speaker, or like I tell it be this person and try and communicate in this person's style. So assume a personality, a role, and then kind of give it a task and like fine tune the task and maybe ask for but it's I feel like people go into chat GPT and they ask like, oh, where can I get this, or can you do this for me? And I feel like you don't get as rich of an answer. You don't fully utilize the power of that prompt because that's a prompt still. That's a one-liner prompt. But I feel like you can really like and then tell it to give you the output in a specific format. There's a lot of conditions and that you can really put in there to even like how he had his change the format of a date. You can do that to apply to different columns in the piece of data. It can take in CSV files, like comma separated files, which are like basically Excel spreadsheets. So and that's really what I was trying to highlight. And then the prompt sheet is like I could find another one. I was trying to do it. I was on the call. I'm like not looking too distracted, but I collect these honestly, especially in the beginning. I was like big on like, oh, how do I improve the quality of information I get out of chat GPT? And like I would see these pop up and then I did a little bit of AI training myself and like, trying to make sure that the code that AI generates is good code. And so I like going on the inside side, then I figured out, okay, wow, these machines really like well formatted prompts, because sometimes they hallucinate and they give you like crappy data. And sometimes that comes from not giving it enough detailed instructions. And you just skip several steps by, taking that time to craft a really nice prompt. Yeah. And like you see how and then taking that level of prompt engineering into the GPT builder where Kitan had put, you know, the type of audience, like even down to like, oh, I wanted to have like 10% Nigerian. I kind of like skimmed through it a little bit, 20% this, and like the jokes, and trying to give it a character. All of that is what like the computer is gonna take in all those little into its weighting, all those little like bits and pieces into its weighting, and give you a more fine-tuned response. And so that sledgehammer starts feeling more like a little hammer, you know. So, but still does the job, and probably does it cleaner than otherwise. So, yeah, that's really highlighting.
I mean, to add to that, what I what I tell folks are like to get the most out of your prompts. You want to at least do these three things, right? Each prompt you should have, not each prompt, but like your starting prompt should have a role in mind, as you said. So say, act as this. You are a this. Blah blah. Like give it a particular role and a very descriptive role. To say you are a Python programmer. Blah blah blah. You are a marketing manager for this. Give it a specific role. So role. The second thing is instructions. And yeah, I know the instructions, but like what I find works the best is actually writing out the numbered instructions on how to perform the task. So perform it in this order. First, do this, then do this. So one, do this, then do that, then do that. So 1, 2, 3, give it an actual like list of instructions, right? In order. And third is use examples. You are an expert this, like I use an example in the role and the instructions and the context and whatnot. And the fourth thing would be like provide context, like create the context around what it is that you're going to ask. So you are working, you're doing this particular thing and blah blah blah. So there's a lot to put in before you actually give that prompt, and then you fine tune. Then with the after the response, then you can try to fine tune the answers based off of that. Another tactic I use is that, like, look, just regenerate like the responses a few times and see which ones work best, honestly. Also give your feedback, so thumbs up and thumbs down ones that don't work, and ones that work, you can say more like this, and stuff like that. Another advice I would give is that don't just depend on Chat GPT, man. There are other models out there that are better that might fare better for different tasks. Like for instance, I would use Gemini and anytime that I need to do some form of information retrieval, because I know that they baked that into the AI system on like looking at most recent search results and pulling that out. Now, if I'm doing any sort of Google search, I don't use Google search again. I just go to Perplexity and do my search in that, because it would have an AI generated answer but then reference all the different search results. The way that it works is that it would do the search results and then read all the content from what the search results are and then give you an answer and then reference the different search results. So use other tools. Go on, please.
Do you pay for Perplexity's premium version?
It's free. It's
Oh,
free.
okay.
It's free like a bird.
I was gonna ask if you've noticed a difference, if there's a value to doing that, if you had, because I don't. I wouldn't.
I haven't paid because like the free version works well enough.
Yeah.
So there's no need to. I am started out paying for too many of these damn tools, so I'm canceling them slowly but surely. Image generation still mid journey is king there. I mean, DALI is good. DALI is OpenAI's image generation, and now it's baked into ChatGPT. But Mid Journey now still does the best. If you're doing anything in video, there's nothing that's great right now. Except if you're like some like professional video guy, then you already know all the tools, right? I would use other tools. Claude is a great alternative. So I usually have them open up and then I put the prompt in each of them and see which one comes out the best, and I use one of them. So I usually have Claude. I would have Claude open, ChatGPT open, and Gemini open as well, and just use either one of those. So I usually default to either Gemini or what's the word, or Open AI. Another good thing about Gemini, you can connect your docs and your Gmail and your what you call it to it, so you can prompt for things that are within your docs and your sheets and your Gmail. You can use that as context, like, or read my most recent email and write me a response for the top 5 of them, something like that. So it's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, anyway.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, and really appreciate you all for your time. I think we learned a lot of information here, really good information for sure. And what I would do is collect some of like this prompt doc Izundo shared and some of these different things shared, and I will share it to people that RSVP'd for the event. And let us know if you want to see more of these events for sure. But thank you so much, Omi. I really appreciate you coming. Thank you so much, Izundo. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kitan, as well. And everyone that showed up, I really hope you took something from this. And that's the plan. There's really an opportunity here, and I just want us to stay ahead, in this new world. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Definitely check out my podcast. I put the links in the comments.
Let's plug.
If you scroll, definitely check it out. I think it's fun. Okay. I've been working on it, and I want to do more with it. Especially like bringing tech and business news to the everyday person in a refreshing way, and figure out ways you can use it to improve your life or advantage, or defend against like things that you didn't know about. Like, will AI take your job, for example? Probably not if you work hard. So just definitely check that out. It's on Apple and Spotify. I definitely wanted to mention that before because I know I put it, but maybe we didn't see it.
Drop the link.
Oh, it's I'm gonna repost it. But I posted it. Let's see. Comment. All right, yeah, it's here again. But yeah, thank you very much for having me, guys, and a pleasure. Hopefully, I see you guys again.
All right.
Bye. Have a good week. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.